1. Welcome to the David the Dog Trainer Podcast, episode 157.
Boom, boom,
Boom, boom, boom, boom, boom. All sorts of stuff to talk about today. Yeah. We fucking, I think last time we did a podcast, the podcast before, we talked about how I was going to be going to Chicago, working with a family with 4 Rottweilers, trying to eat each other's faces off.
Yep.
And we did it.
And we did it.
We went. We saw, we conquered.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. The video just went live on YouTube this morning. So this will be well after the fact, so some of you will have seen it. But I'm going to kind of give my commentary on how that went. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about other stuff. I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
What's new, Josh?
I was sick for the last week, unfortunately.
Yeah. I still got the lingering congestion, too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm trying.
Going to be a lot of...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that we survived podcast 156. If you know, you know. Other than that,
Josh, I just said a minute ago that I wasn't going to start talking about that podcast.
We're not talking. I just want
to put my only commentary on that podcast is I actually think it went way better than I thought it was going to. Yeah. I still stand behind everything I said of I think that he was very respectful and nice, right?
Yep.
I think that we kind of hit a little bit of a wall as far as disagreements with stuff where we were struggling to get the clarity that we needed on stuff, and I think that was reflected in the comments on it. But all in all, that's done in my book right now.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
That's why I said we survived. Other than that, went to the Hilton again. Went out to Ashtabula, saw a bunch of wineries.
Yeah, how was that? Which ones did you wind up going to?
Ferrante.
Ferrante, I just went there.
Yeah.
It's a good place.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
They're having their ice wine festival right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, was it... what do you think of the consistency of ice wine?
I tried it. I've never really had ice wine before.
Yeah.
So I tried it while we were there. I got a glass of it because it was the ice wine festival.
Yeah.
And it was the sweetest thing I've ever tasted in my life, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
I like my wine where, like, every sip I take of it, I'm actually further dehydrating my body. I like it that dry, where the liquid is absorbing liquid out of my body.
Okay. So, yeah, ice wine is definitely not for you.
Not for me, no.
We went down the street. I'm trying to think of the second winery was like kind of a weird name. Did you go down that strip?
Or did you just do kind of did, yeah. We went to, I think, 4 or 5 different ones when we did our little winery tour.
Okay. Oh, man. I can't remember the name of it now.
We went to M. M is another one we did. We went to one that's in, like, an old church, which was pretty freaking sweet.
Okay.
Would you go to, like, Old River or something?
We went Cask 307.
Yeah, didn't do that one.
And then Bacchi.
Oh, Bacchi.
Bacchi.
We went to that one also, yes.
Yeah.
But the main building wasn't open when we went there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just have like a little, like almost like speakeasy barn in the back.
Yeah.
That they were doing.
Okay.
But that one looked really cool. I would like to go back to that one.
Yeah, that one was cool because they had like a really nice like wine like humidor basically.
Oh, that's cool.
And like you opened it up and you could walk in. Yeah. So we did a bunch of photos in there because
that's cool.
You know, it was pretty awesome. But
that's
and
cool that you did.
food.
Bacchi is supposed to be new. We didn't get. Kate got a salad there, I think, because they had like this beet salad that she really wanted. Yeah. She said it was delicious. Their menu looked really good.
Oh, dude, they have like an Italiano, and it's on focaccia.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love focaccia bread.
I do too.
So. And like all the meats are supposed to be like locally cured, you know. So it tasted fresh. I was like, I was doing the hey, I'm not sick, but I was sick while I was there, you know.
Yeah,
so
I understand. You were trying to just floof one over on people.
Yeah, exactly. So and I
Josh, I don't know if you could say that on the. I think that's almost like that's like a war crime at this point.
Oh yeah. You know? Okay, I wasn't sick. All right, everyone. On that day, I was not sick. But I could barely taste anything, and I could still taste it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then they make really good pizzas.
Mm-hmm. We ate at Ferrante.
Yeah.
And they had really good pizzas.
Yeah.
I got a seafood pizza from there that had like scallops.
Okay.
And, like lobster and shit on it. It's fucking delicious.
Dude, this pizza, it had like, do you like olives though?
Yeah, I like olives.
Okay. It was like a, what is it? Calamati? Calamata?
I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah,
Also,
one of the
something like that.
We're gonna get so many comments like you guys.
We got a jar of them in the fridge downstairs.
Yeah,
we'll fact check it after this.
But it was like a puree kind of like under, and then they put
like, it's like a muffaletta
almost.
Yeah,
and then put a big old thing of pepperoni. Like the pepperoni slice was that big.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good, dude. Nice and crunchy. But Ferrante, they had the food. We only did like 3 or 4 dishes at each place, and they had like, dude, they had this steak. Oh my gosh, dude.
See the steak I had the other day?
Yeah, I did. Damn. That looked good too.
Bro.
Yeah. But this is like a filet over their like homemade mash and this like balsamic reduction just kind of like glazed over it. Oh. And dude, those wineries are so beautiful too.
They're really nice.
It's
and
so
they're
nice.
super affordable too, I think.
Yeah. But it was cool because all these things are going to be in their like booklet catalog that they put out for like tourism.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then there was actually somebody at Bocce because of their last year's winery book or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the lady found out because the tourism board was there with us the whole day, and she was like so stoked because she's like, "Oh, look, it works! Like people are coming out here for our books, But otherwise, that's. Hopefully, I didn't bore you guys all with food again, but that was my week in between being sick. So
sounds nice.
Yeah,
yeah, dude, that steak. We went to this place in Connecticut called Joseph's Steakhouse.
It's always like when it's a guy's name, it's going to be good.
Not if it's a woman's name. No, I'm just kidding. Oh! I'm joking. That was actually a playoff on you saying that it was a guy's name. It's anybody's name.
It's anybody's
Karen's Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Probably delicious,
Yeah, okay. Anybody's first name. What's that big one in New York that like
Peter Luger?
Yeah, Peter Luger. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Ruth Chris.
Yeah, I guess if it has your whole name, then you're on an elevated level.
I would assume Morton's is probably somebody's name.
It's got to be. Yeah,
Jimmy Morton.
Something
like that. I don't know.
Oh, Jimmy Morton.
But yeah, no, dude, that place was out of control.
Yeah,
I got the freaking 24-ounce porterhouse.
Yeah, it was massive.
24-ounce porterhouse. Nothing on it, just salt and pepper, fired in the grill or in the whatever you call it, the broiler.
Yeah,
sliced, then fired again, and then butter. And he came out when he served it. He had one of those. I'm just trying to do this like ASMR style.
Yeah,
he had like a little plate like this, right? And he put it right there. And I was like, "What's he putting that little plate there for?" Then he comes over with the regular plate with the steak on it. And he sets it like this. You know why he set it like that?
Because he's going to pour over.
No. Because there was so much butter in the dish that it all just dripped down to the bottom. And he's like, that's the jus.
That's the jus?
That's the jus.
You're just dipping it in the butter drippings.
Oh, God, it was out of control. I fucking love a good steak.
Did you eat the whole thing there, too?
You better believe I did. You better believe I did. I've made the mistake many a time before at steakhouses where I overload on the sides, or the salad before the bread. They have really good bread there too.
Yeah.
Here's the other crazy thing about this place. With their house salad, the house salad, first off, has thick pieces of bacon cut up and put inside of it. And then the dressing for this salad was the steak sauce.
Oh my God, Jesus. They
Bro.
said there's nothing healthy about that salad.
Nothing. but so I kept it cool, right? I got the salad, right? And then we got one side. We got the creamed spinach. Ooh. Wow, it was good. Straight butter.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was 25% spinach and 75% butter, right?
But that's what makes it good.
That's what makes it good.
Man, that sounds so good now.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be hungry
I'm
after
trying
this.
to get everybody hungry.
Oh man.
Yeah. Nice medium rare. Whatever. So did that. That steak, dude, out of control. I kept asking the last couple times. So my wife is from Connecticut, obviously, for people that don't know. So we go back regularly to see family. And every time I've went back, I'm like, we always do the let's get the lobster rolls, let's get the pizza. The last couple times I've been like, because I love a steak, right?
Yeah.
Like, where's the best steakhouse around here? Where's it at? Where's it at? And her mom, she thinks about it. She's like, Joseph's.
Joey's.
She just brought Joey's.
You gotta go to Joey's.
Yeah. Just brought it up a couple times.
Yeah.
And then she told us when we got in town, she's like, I got a surprise for you, this day, right? So she just drives. She didn't even tell us where we're going.
Yeah.
Pulls up to Joseph's. Joseph's, and we went to a little comedy show after.
Ooh.
It was nice. It's good stuff. Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Bridgeport?
That's where Joseph's is at. If you're rolling through Bridgeport, Connecticut, stop at Joey's.
Get the porterhouse.
Get the porterhouse. 24 ounces of deliciousness.
That's a big steak, man.
Well, a bunch of it was like the T-bone in it.
Oh, for sure. But,
but yeah, it's a big steak.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what's new for me. Let's talk about some dog training.
All we did last week was eat, is what we're saying.
Okay, so we did, like I said, went to Chicago. Paige and I went there. We filmed the whole thing. Video's live. You'll be seeing clips all week of it. It went really good. So basically, to give you guys a little bit of history on these dogs, right? So this woman she lives in the outskirts of Chicago, but big enough house for a bunch of dogs, nice yard, stuff like that. She's got 4 dogs, and they're all Rottweilers. They're all big as fuck. And, they all lived harmoniously together for a while. Then suddenly, boom, fights start happening, which we all know it doesn't just go suddenly, boom, fights start happening. Things lead to it. But fights started happening, and they weren't good fights. They were not good fights.
I could only imagine.
Right? Resulting in injuries to dogs, injuries to humans. It was a freaking mess, right?
Oh, really?
So she wound up contacting us. She signed up for a board and train for one of the dogs. Dog came up here. And generally speaking, when we work with fighting dog households, we kind of take a look at the whole household. I think somehow this kind of slipped through the cracks a little bit. I think Kayla might have booked it and didn't realize that she was coming in from Chicago for it, whatever. So the dog comes out here. We start kind of, the first week we're putting all the pieces together as far as what's going on with the dog. We're like, this dog really isn't that bad. Right? So call her, talk to her, this, that. She tells us kind of, more of the information about what's going on in the house. And it becomes very apparent that this is not really a this dog issue, which under 9 out of 10 circumstances, I tell everybody, if you're dealing with fighting dogs, immediately get it out of your head that one dog is the problem.
Yeah.
That is the single and most important thing that you could possibly do, because anytime I see people that look at the one dog as the problem, they miss so much other shit. And it almost always is this case, and it was kind of this case in this circumstance. It's almost always the case of there's an older dog, there's a younger dog. The older dog is like the OG, right? It's the perfect child.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then suddenly fights start happening, and the younger dog, because they're a little bit more spry, a little bit more agile, starts fucking the older dog up. And then you start looking at it like, oh my God, the younger dog is the problem, without realizing that usually the older dog is probably instigating a lot of these fights. It's getting away with so much.
Yeah.
And the younger dog, as they come into maturity, is just kind of over their fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely the case, on top of the fact that there were also 2 other dogs in the house, right? So whatever. So we talked, we worked out kind of a deal where she was going to bring the older dog up for training also. She had already done a degree of training with the other 2 dogs at the home, and basically we were going to do a coordinated board and train with those 2 dogs. I was going to take them home, and then we were going to work with the whole pack, right? Because really with these fighting cases, you've got to be able to assess the entire pack, right? So that's what we did. We get the older dog in. It becomes very clear that older dog has way more issues than the younger dog does. Very, very high anxiety, separation anxiety issues, would throw tantrums in the freaking crate, was really postury and kind of like police officer-y towards other dogs and socials. It was just got away with shit, like sure. Plain and simple, right? So did it. We posted one video on YouTube of the reintroduction of those 2 dogs, and you could even see it in that video. The older dog is just kind of being an asshole, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's not even that, like, I use the term aggressive so loosely, right? Or I should say I try to avoid using the word aggressive so loosely, because I think sometimes we use it to describe things that aren't really aggression a lot of the time, right? So this dog, I wouldn't even say was being aggressive. It was just being very dominant, which is like go and just stand over top and hackles up and just try to intimidate the other dog and stuff like that. And just being a dick, right? Damn. So whatever. So we worked with them. We got them really good while they were here. Very neutral around each other. They could be around each other. We got them, off muzzle around each other, all that kind of stuff. It was no big deal. Like they were very easy to train once they got in the groove while they were at our facility. So I knew that things were definitely an environmental problem at home. Right? Yeah. So we drove out to Chicago. We got there. We get in the house, and before we got there a little bit early, so they actually weren't even home yet. So we pull in. I get the dogs out one at a time. I'm letting them go to the bathroom. I'm just going to kind of get them primed up, get them in the groove. So I get the younger one out first, working some downstays, stuff like that. She was a little bit distracted, the fact that she was home, but she kind of fell into the groove very nicely, was working the downstays fine, no big deal. And it went very well, right? Then I get the freaking older dog out of the car, dude. And it was like she stepped out of my car and was like, I'm home, bitch, right? Just total, could not be more distracted, wouldn't listen to anything, just so hyper-fixated on the fact that this dog was home and was trying to revert back to all of those old ways, right? Which is just what we see with these dogs all the time. That's why we always say the transition back home is always the hardest, because some of these dogs, the power of association is so real, right? That association they have with the people in their lives or the places that they go, it is so powerful, and it is borderline involuntary. She stepped out of the car, and it's not even like she was making this conscious choice of oh yeah, I'm back home, I'm just going to be an asshole again. It's just like she couldn't control herself because of all of the flood of emotions of what being home represented for this dog.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
So I sat out there for probably 20 minutes drilling this dog, getting this dog back under control. We got to a good spot, right? Whatever. Put him back in the car. Owner gets home. We walk in. We're talking about kind of what the day-to-day is going to look like, kind of what we're going to try to accomplish while we're out there, all of that kind of stuff. And I wanted to meet the other two dogs. One of her big homework assignments while the two that were at training, what she was to do with the other two, was to start just getting back on them, right? E-collars on all the time, start squashing the nonsense in the house, things like that. And I'll tell you, I was actually pretty impressed with their overall energy level when we first walked into the house. They really weren't super out of control. They seemed fairly calm, It was all in all pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So whatever. So then we started the process. All right, we got to kind of reintroduce all of these dogs. We have 4 different dogs, which is freaking 27 different dynamics, amongst each one of them. So we got to go through the process of getting them all back together. And I think this is where a lot of people that have fighting dogs or just any dogs kind of go wrong with things, is they think that if you have 2 dogs and those 2 dogs have always been fine with each other and there's never been a problem, and let's say they haven't seen each other in a freaking year. Let's say they haven't seen each other in a month, whatever it may be. You just kind of think that they've never had a problem before, throw them together, everything's fine. Yeah. That is not always the case, right? The amount of times I've seen, and I'm going to be kind of jumping all over the place this episode, so stop me if I'm getting a little too crazy with it, right? Okay. The amount of times I've seen people that have left their dogs for boarding, and maybe they've never left the dogs for boarding before, right? Or maybe they left the dogs for much longer than they usually do, and they run into a problem when they first see the dogs again. I've seen that happen many times over the last 10 years. One in particular I can remember. I had this client that they did boarding with us. They were from out of town, and they'd known about us, for a while and stuff, right? And they were just doing standard boarding, right? And they dropped these dogs off for boarding. They were fine with each other the whole time. They've never had issues in the past. And the owners picked up the dogs, and we brought the 2 dogs down. We gave them to the owners, and the owners started, oh my God, we're so happy to see you, blah, 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 getting them all hyped up and stuff. And the dogs literally got into a fight with each other in the lobby.
Oh, man.
Right? It wasn't a nasty fight or anything
still.
like that. But they got in like a legit fight with each other in the lobby because of that burst of fucking arousal that they did right off the rip. And, you know, this was back in the day before we used to require that all dogs did like a large extent of training with us prior to boarding and all that kind of stuff for these exact reasons. So we have control over this kind of stuff, right? This was prior to the fact. So, you know, they were just doing boarding. Like, here's your dogs, right? Like, you know, we kept them safe and alive while they're here, and here you go. And obviously, those dogs didn't have as sound of a relationship with each other as these people thought. Because that burst of emotion and arousal of them just getting the dog super hyped up was enough to trigger a fight in that moment. So I say that because this shit happens. Yeah. Right? And you've got to be aware of it. Because if you're not, you could run into big issues with it. So I'm very conscious of when I do these reintroductions, even though the woman had said that the dogs had issues with each other, but for the last 8 months or whatever it may be, they could individually be out with the other two and there was no problems. There was never any issues with them, right? So I said, I'm still going to kind of take this slow, right? So I brought them in one at a time. And sure as shit, there wasn't fights, but there was definitely some weird posturing and kind of let's size each other back up again. Where the fuck you been? What's going on? You know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know, we got through that. It went fine. But I say this because a part of working through these issues is as an owner, you have to be aware of all of that kind of stuff. Right? Even myself, getting back to me jumping around all over the place here right now. I just got back into town and I got my dogs and, you know, 3 of them were at boarding at Miracle, Deli, Waffles, and Vinny. And Vera, my other dog, was with my parents for the time, right? And when I first got them back together with each other, it wasn't just like, throw them in the room and they're going to be good to go, even though they're fine, right? But like they had a history of getting in fights with each other, you know, 5 years ago or whatever it was, right? So every reintroduction, every new situation, I kind of take a little bit of a step back and I ask myself, you know, is there anything I need to do in particular to make sure this goes successful? Or 2, I just make sure that I'm in a position to have an extra set of eyes on things, right? And there's always the 3-minute little awkward period of time of same deal. Like Deli and Vera, the 2 that had gotten in the fight with each other in the past, they kind of are sniffing each other, you know, like it's a little awkward, a little weird, stuff like that. It's not normal to their routines, to how they generally interact with each other. So for the whole first day of them being back together yesterday, not that I'm concerned something's going to happen, but I just have an extra set of eyes on things just in case, right? Like they generally never wear e-collars in the house or anything, but anytime I reintro them back together after them not having been together for a little bit, I always make them wear the e-collar for the first day back home, just in case, right? Not expecting problems, but I'm being proactive about things, right? So whatever, we did that introduction with each other with the 4 dogs in Chicago. We got past all the nonsense and everything. Things were good. And then we just started drilling stuff. You know, we started getting into things, working on training exercises. First and foremost, it was very apparent that this woman needed to have just much more control over the dogs. So I took a little bit opposite of an approach as I generally do. A lot of times I focus more on like just the social of the dogs greeting each other and interacting with each other and stuff like that, which we kind of did at the beginning, right? But I actually put a lot of my emphasis over the course of, you know, the couple days that I spent out there on making sure this woman had absolute control over these dogs. Like no matter what was going on, if she needed to get them to do something, it was immediate and every dog was compliant to it. So we did a lot of stuff like, you know, recalls in the house, downstays in the house, simulating that downstay with people knocking on the door and coming in and out. We did on the back patio, working the 4-dog down, which is a big fan. Like I do this with my dogs a lot, where like if I'm just standing there and I just say down, I expect every single one of the dogs to down. It's not like you down, you down, you down, you down. Yeah. One down is everybody fucking downs, right? So we did a lot of work on things like that and her putting all 4 of them into a down and then walking in the house to get something and coming back out and making sure that we're going to still listen and just like absolute control over these dogs, right? That was such an important piece of the puzzle that she was missing in the past with them. And especially when you look at these situations where, again, the dogs don't inherently have a problem with each other. It's not like they're really grudgy or like on site trying to attack each other or anything, but like the fights are coming from these exterior factors, right? Meaning whatever, resources, meaning the two dogs that stayed home and didn't come to the training were really bad about rushing the fence when people or dogs were walked by. So we worked on that in it, right? Or all of these like spikes of arousal where she didn't have enough control over them was causing them to try to control each other, right? And we put almost 100% of our emphasis into that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, you know, like, I think people kind of sometimes give me shit over some of this. Like, we have another video that just went somewhat, it's not viral, right? But it's been getting a lot of comments, a lot of views. I think it's got like 15,000 views on YouTube or something like that. And it's just a short of me stopping this dog from reacting at another dog by giving it a prong color correction. And bro, the comments in it are like, oh my God, how could you do that? The dog yipped when you corrected it, and you're using the tool wrong and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But they fail to realize that dog, I don't even know if we talked about this on the podcast or not, but that dog came here because his owner's arm is broken in half right now because he pulled her over reacting at another dog, right? And not just that, but the owner's mother was pulled down reacting at another dog also, and she broke a rib.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. So like, yeah, I'm going to correct the shit out of that. I'm going to make sure that dog realizes reacting at other dogs is absolutely not fun to do.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And this is where you get to like our conversation we had with Dale, and to throw him a bone here and give him some credit. I think a lot of his issue with balanced training and force-free training and all of that, and when he says training is a learning-based exercise, what he's alluding to and what we talked about a little bit in the podcast that we had him on with is the fact that people simply focus on teaching the behavior, but they don't care how they're teaching the behavior. Meaning, like all these people that are saying, you could have done that a different way, right? You could have lured the dog, and you could have, you know, shaped the behavior with a treat or a tug and created engagement, like all these types of things. You would have accomplished the same thing. And it's like, yeah, you could have, but would that have accomplished if I don't do those things, that the dog still realizes this is an absolute requirement, or as he put it, a demand on you right now that you are not allowed to do this. Yeah. Right? And there is definitely a difference, right? Which is why I choose to, with some of these dogs, start off with some of that kind of stuff. Then I could add all the fun in later. Right? Let's say like that was like the first 10 minutes of me working with that dog when I corrected it really firmly on the prong, right? Let's say that, you know, with that dog, 10 minutes, I get that shit under control. The dog's a little bit nervous from it, a little bit scared to get corrected again for it, stuff like that, but it's being very respectful. Perfect. We've taught the most important thing, which is that you absolutely cannot do this. You have to keep your attention on me. Now I can keep it fun, right? Now I could give you treats. Now I could reinforce proper behavior. Now I could let you become confident and stuff like that. But we established the important thing first and foremost. Yeah. Right? Pause me for a second here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the other thing too with that is when it's something serious like that, where this dog it's because of its reactions have broken someone's arm or broken somebody's rib. Like, we don't have time to just kind of dilly-dally to teach a learned thing or whatever. Like, we got to just stop it immediately, because there's obviously consequences that are happening in real time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes sense. I think it's just about being very clear about what the expectation is. Yeah. Right? In the case of this dog, the expectation is do not think about reacting at other dogs.
No.
Right? Don't do it.
Never.
Right? You know, or in the case of dogs that have really bad jumping problems, don't jump on people. Yeah. Right? Where sometimes we try to teach all these alternative behaviors to accomplish the same thing, but in actuality, the dog isn't actually learning what the expectation is. Yeah. Right? So that's my kind of whole thought on it. But anyways, and again, I know I'm really jumping around the place.
You're good.
I'm trying to correlate everything as best as I can. We haven't done a podcast in a couple of weeks, you know? So I got a lot to say. So, you know, so I get back to like working with these Rottweilers. Like, you'll see in the video, like, I was pretty fucking hard on these dogs, right? Like, and there were some things, like some areas like with the downstays and stuff like that, where I would say I was exceptionally hard on these dogs because of how much of a safety risk shit is. These dogs have to listen to this woman, right? Yeah. Like, and we'll talk about safety protocols that I put in place also, but like, this woman got really, really injured the last fight that they got into. Like, she's got like scars up her arm from like the dog redirecting on her and shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's not like the alternative is these dogs are going to be dead. Yeah. Like the alternative is if she can't figure out a way to manage her household with these dogs, they're gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Right. So sorry, bruh. Like reacting at the fence line. You'll see in the video, like these 2 dogs, not the 2 that came to training, but the other 2. I put the e-collars on them. I maxed out the e-collars, and we set up. We had her son come over and walk his dog past the fence a couple times. These dogs, what did they do? They run to the fence line, freaking out, and that's a big, big trigger, man. That is the place dogs get in fights with each other. I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
Is reacting at things outside of the fence. You get the redirected aggression and stuff, right? So I nailed these dogs for that. Nailed them. Got that under control. I had to do it one time. We had multiple dogs pass by after that. These dogs didn't even go near the fence.
Heck yeah.
I just that's like you got to get it under control.
Yeah.
You got to get it. I always like zoom back to the episode, get it under control. Everybody go search the episode, get it under control and watch it. I talk about this same concept. There are some things that you have to just get under control.
Yeah.
You have to make sure the dog realizes that these things are extremely unpleasant to do, that there are serious consequences for it, because the ramifications are so serious if you don't get those things under control.
Yeah.
So whatever. So we got shit under control with these dogs, and this woman is far from out of the woods. Like she had a very, very toxic household with her relationship with the dog's relationship with her, the dog's relationship with each other, the amount of stuff that was being allowed in the home, right? The severity of things, just given the fact how big the dogs are, like all that kind of stuff, right? It's a serious situation. So the positive is, one, there is so much that she can do without having the dogs together that will solve this problem still, right? So like for her first week back home, her strict instructions were, because both of her sons were going to be out of town, was don't have the dogs together with each other, right? Don't have the dogs together with each other. But all of these little things that these dogs are struggling with, like reacting at the fence line, not being immediately compliant to commands, them being a pain in the ass on the walk, them not being able to hold downstays properly while people are walking in the door, all those types of things, those are things you could work on individually and get these dogs really rock solid with that kind of stuff, where when you go to put them back together, it's going to be a cakewalk, because you've practiced it and perfected it individually, right? And because all of those places are things that were causing fights in the past, you absolutely can really get that under control, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of her strict instructions, is you got to just get all these behavioral issues under control first. Her other issue is her adult son that lives with her. He gave me a lot of hope, because when we were there, he kind of let her do a lot of the work, but like he's been able to have all these dogs out together with each other and not have any issues, right? Now, they're her dogs. They're not his dogs. So it's a very small percentage of the time that it's happening. But like he's got a really good head on his shoulders as far as like understanding the concepts of discipline and structure and things like that. And even little things he would do, like he showed me, like, when he goes for his walks with the dogs, he would like really drill them at the front. This is just something he just instinctually did. Like he put him in a sit at the door, and then he'd like walk in and out, and then he would go, watermelon, right? Or like things like that, and like try to throw them off to get him to make mistakes and make sure they were like absolutely under control at all times. And all of those things were the reason why he wasn't having problems with them. He instinctually knew to do that. And if she wants to have a fighting shot of getting past this, she's going to have to be able to do all the same things. Yeah. But, even the concepts of that we were telling her what to do, like as I was talking, he was like kind of a part of the conversation and just saying like, he was almost like beating me to the punch on some of the things I was about to say, showing that he like really understands this stuff. Right. Yeah. And he seems like a very diligent and perfectionist kind of person, where he's going to stay on top of her with stuff. But I told her, I was like, I don't want you to have these dogs like indefinitely. I don't want you to have these dogs together with each other unless he's home also. That's another big rule that we gave her. You know what I mean? And just the utmost, and then even with them all together, even when he's home indefinitely, I don't want these two to be off muzzle with each other right now. Right. And we went over management techniques, and we went over ways to, to kind of keep everybody, engaged and enriched in the times that they're not all together with each other and all of that. And, rehabbing these situations is just a ton of work for owners. And especially when you're dealing with, like I said, a situation like this where the risk is really high, like you have to make sure that you kind of iron out all of those kinks and you put the safety of not just the dogs, but the humans at the absolute peak of priority with stuff. So, yeah. So it was really interesting. It was really great working with them. The dogs all did very, very well. Like I said, we really got on them. We really established some new boundaries and stuff, but they were very receptive to it. She did very well with things, as we progressed through stuff where she was just staying on top of them and her expectations were very clear and stuff. But she's got work to do, and we're going to be doing Zoom follow-up sessions with her, over the course of the next couple months here and continuing to have things kind of transfer. But I liked that she was up for the challenge and she had very realistic expectations about things, Yeah. And she's got the support system of her two adult sons, one that lives there, one that lives around the corner, where I left feeling very optimistic about things.
Good.
Yeah. So that's how it went.
That's awesome. I mean, I had a question kind of, when you have, because had the other two dogs ever had training?
Yeah, so she had like an in-home dog trainer coming to the house periodically prior to the training, But it was all obedience. Yeah. Right? And that's where you kind of get to like the missing link, and I think we might have talked about this. It'll probably be a little bit in the episode where like the dogs had fairly good obedience training on them, but like all that she did with the other trainer was the obedience training. And the obedience training is very important. Don't get me wrong. It's very, very important. Having a good sound communication system is very important. Yeah. But she was never educated on all of the in the house things. Yeah. Right? Like where the fights were coming from when she's not working obedience commands, what she should be doing or what she should not be doing, how she's contributing to the problem, right? We talk a lot about the routines that she needs to be setting, long term with, how she does certain things, whether it's people coming over the house, whether it's handling the fence line, like all of those types of things. Yeah. Sometimes we get too hung up on just the obedience training and not enough on those things.
Yeah. But let's just for example's sake, let's say like you have a similar situation, but the other two dogs have never had training, and this person, like your client, is trying so hard to get these two under control, and you got two dogs on a different level than these other dogs. How do you kind of work with that with somebody like a dog owner?
I think that there needs to be some extent of training with all dogs, but the training doesn't need to be all dogs need to be fully on and off leash obedience trained. I think that helps because you can manage things a little bit better when they have full on and off leash obedience training. But if you really look at like where do fights come from, it comes from two things, right? It comes from no control over resources, which is food, toys, and affection. We talk about that all the time, right? There's no good routines for the food. There's no good routines for the toys. There's no routines over the affection. And remind me, I'm going to talk in a second here about resource guarding. Okay. Because that pertains to those things, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that creates issues in households with dogs is behavioral issues outside of obedience commands that are going unchecked. So basically, some of your dogs or one of your dogs is seeing the other dogs rehearse behavioral issues that we should be disciplining. So that dog is disciplining the dog. And it's not like they're like, oh God, mom's doing a bad job with training right now, so I got to step in and train this dog, right? Yeah. It's not that. But a lot of these high arousal behavioral issues you'll see in the house, like most of it is like the reactivity, like reacting out the window, reacting when people come over the house, reacting at the fence line, those types of things. That energy is like a magnet for other dogs where they want to control it, right? It's like this desperate like urge that they have that's like involuntary to go over and control that energy. So if we're not controlling it, the other dogs are ultimately going to want to control it because it's instinctual, right? So because of that, like let's say the other two dogs had zero training at a bare minimum, I would be getting those dogs e-collars so we could start getting on some of the individual behavioral issues they have, which is fine and that could work. The reason why it's less than ideal is because what obedience training does is it helps get the baseline level of arousal down to a more manageable level. So when we go to correct for those behavioral issues, it's a little bit easier to correct for them. Right?
Yeah.
And it depends on the severity of the situation, you know? Like if it's not really that big of a deal, the dogs are not really that poorly behaved, you know, stuff like that. Usually you can get away with less training than if it's a bigger, like this situation, how it's 4 power breed dogs, you know, with big behavioral issues. And their instinct to try to control things is going to be much stronger because of how much dominance they kind of inherently hold with each other.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Does that answer that question?
Sure does.
Okay, so that gets to then the resource guarding side of this. There's always concepts that come about that I try to find ways to articulate for people because I think they're interesting and I'm kind of working through it in my head, but I don't have a clear enough way of saying it yet. And I feel like I'm starting to get there with this one. So bear with me as I kind of try to create a way to explain this to people, right? Yeah. So resource guard, we talk about food, toys, affection, right? Why that generally creates problems, right? And it's because, obviously, dogs have this instinct to resource guard things that are theirs, right? Yep. Now, sometimes I think we look at, well, we just need to eliminate the resource guarding with the dogs, right? But like, how do we eliminate the resource guarding with the dogs? And why is it something that clicks to them? And why is it also that resource guarding, in my opinion, is one of those behavioral issues we talk a lot about that like doesn't really go away? It's like a relationship thing, right? And I think it's because the role of resource guarding is always there, but it's ever shifting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Josh said,
ever shifting.
No. Yeah, no, it doesn't. What do you think I mean by that, Josh?
The role of resource guarding is ever
shifting. Yes.
Like,
what does that mean?
Are you talking about where the instance of what is making it happen can change at any time?
No.
Okay, then I.
All right. Let me step in here. Let me provide some clarification.
Yes,
okay?
Please.
Okay, so the role of resource guarding is ever shifting, meaning somebody will always be resource guarding. There will always be and I use this word very loosely as well, right? But like an alpha of the pack that does the resource guarding.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Do you get where I'm going with this now?
Okay.
So the role of resource guarding is ever shifting, meaning it's ever shifting and it should be shifting to the right person.
Heard.
So ultimately, let's look at all of the things that dogs will resource guard, right? Food, toys, affection. Let's look at the affection one because I think it's the least understood out of all of them.
Yeah.
Right? So commonly we find that dogs will come into our space and then we pet them. And then another dog tries to come over and interject. And when that dog tries to come over and interject, what does the dog that's getting pet do? They resource guard their resource, meaning us, to the other dog. They say, get the fuck away from my resource, right? Now, if you're looking at that from the lens of resource guarding just needs to go away, then basically what we're saying is dogs should just need to tolerate other dogs stealing their resources constantly, which I think is it's a fallacy. That's not really real life, right? And sure, you could hypothetically create enough suppression where dogs are more tolerant of that. But ultimately, I think with any of these things, that's like you're kind of fighting the uphill battle of will you ever actually get to where you need to get with that?
Yeah.
It depends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, let's look at it from the lens of resource guarding being ever shifting, right? Now, let's say we don't want the dog to resource guard, so that role needs to shift. Who does it need to shift to?
You?
Yes. What would us resource guarding our dog look like?
I don't know, man.
Like I said, I'm crafting this, right? Like, so
I'm sticking with you, bro.
Stick with me. Okay. All right. So let's say we are the ones resource guarding.
Okay.
Dog, right. So dog comes over, we're petting the dog, right? And we're saying this is my resource, right?
Okay.
And then another dog is coming over trying to interject or posing a threat to my resource.
Yeah.
What would a dog do in that moment?
Getting all pissed off.
That's right. Right? It would go, hey, get the fuck away.
Yeah.
Right? What would a human that's resource guarding their dog look like?
Get all pissed off.
Hey, get the fuck away.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So if you look at it from this lens, that is what we need to be. We need to be resource guarding our resources, meaning our dogs in our home. And that is how the dogs ultimately gain respect of we are the ones controlling this kind of stuff.
Okay.
They don't need to do it, right? They are not. Now, on top of that, if we're saying that the dog is our resource as opposed to the other way around, there's more variables at play, meaning the things that we're doing in our day-to-day can't only resemble that we are a resource, meaning it's all soft and pet and fun and this and that. We have to be establishing boundaries and rules and getting them into a quote-unquote follower state of mind. And we do that by them understanding there's rules and boundaries that we are enforcing, right? Yep. But on top of that, we have to be the ones that are actively resource guarding our dogs to other potential threats going on in the house to create harmony.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I look at that the same way with food, right? So you get dogs with serious food aggression issues, right? This is the one we've said many times. I think Michelle even posted a video recently of this, or we posted a video of Michelle talking about it on the podcast, of resource guarding and like, does it ever really go away? Can you ever take a dog that resource guards food intensely and say this dog will never resource guard food forever and ever, no matter who it goes to? I don't think so, because I think that role, I don't think you just suppress and stop the behavior. I think that the role of the resource guarding has to shift. That dog has to realize that I'm resource guarding the food. It's my fucking food. Yeah. It's not your food. And they have to inherently understand that this individual, myself, the owner of the dog, whoever it may be, is going to resource guard the food for me, and I'm not going to win this fight. Right? But that doesn't just transfer then.
No.
Right? Then we have to generalize that the next person is also going to resource guard the food. And the next person is also going to resource guard the food. And the next person is also going to resource guard the food. And maybe in a hypothetical world, if you generalize it to 15 different people, the dog will start to realize and generalize that all humans will resource guard these things towards me. So it's not worth it for me to try to fight it. But you got to go through that generalization process. And that's kind of a maybe.
Yeah.
Because the role of resource guarding is ever shifting.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
It does make more sense. It's basically reversing the
role.
The role, yeah.
Which is 99% of things, right? So much of our issues, like when you deal with handler aggressive dogs that are aggressive towards people in the home, really the dog is not trying to attack and kill you, right? The dog is setting boundaries with you, and they're increasing the intensity of how they're trying to set the boundary with you based on how compliant you are to them in that moment, which is why it could escalate to a point of being really, really serious.
Yeah.
Right? So you look at that and we look at like, why is it so hard to fix handler aggressive dogs, right? It's so hard to overcome those issues, because when a dog realizes how, like I would look at like my dogs all know that I'm in charge without a question of a doubt. Right? Like there's not a time ever in my day-to-day where I look at my dogs like trying to challenge me or anything. Like, it just doesn't happen. Yeah. So I look at like, how difficult would it be for that role to get shifted, for my dogs to start to realize that they can challenge me and overcome stuff? Probably because of how strong that association is, probably pretty challenging. Yeah. Right? So if a dog thinks that their owner, that they are in total and absolute control over that owner, over all of these little things, that is going to be a long shift as well to be able to get past, right? Getting back to power of association. That's a very, very, very challenging association to get past, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. Is there, can I further clarify that?
No, I think it took a minute, but then we got there. Yeah. And I feel like you got it. With the reversing the role, basically.
It's reversing the role, right? Yeah. Like, and I think that's so much of this kind of stuff. Toys, right? Like the toys. Why are the dogs fighting over the toys? Because the toys in their mind are theirs, and they are resource guarding the toys, right? So it's like, no, I am like, okay, I'm giving my dog this toy to play with. Right? So now this other dog is posing a threat to that toy in that moment, right? Which is going to create competition and contention between dogs. Yeah. So I'm going to resource guard that toy. Get the fuck away from that toy. right? And I'm saying it with this intensity, not because I literally tell my dogs, get the fuck away from that toy. But that's kind of the mentality you have to have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to be serious with this, right? Like, it's not just like, no, I don't think you're allowed to do that, right? It's the whole body, feeling that you get when you're establishing a boundary with something, right? Yeah. Think back to any time where you've needed to set a boundary, whether it's with a past relationship, a coworker, a friend, whatever it may be, where you needed to put your foot down on stuff, right? May have been hard in that moment, but you knew the intensity you needed to come at things with.
Yep.
You knew if you wanted this person to respect this boundary, it couldn't just be Josh, I really don't like it when you talk to me like that. It's no, I need you to stop talking to me like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's seriousness behind it. There's it's a whole body language that goes with it and stuff like that. Yeah. Right? And you've got to be able to embody that when you're establishing these rules. And this all ties back to what we were talking about originally, which is the fighting dogs and these dogs in Chicago. Like, we talked about this kind of stuff, right? You have to be serious about the rules and boundaries you set. Those rules and boundaries you set, that needs to become a part of who you are, is somebody that sets rules and boundaries, right? So I think starting to try to, I'm gonna keep shifting how I kind of explain this. I kind of took the long way to get there because I thought you were gonna help me out with it a little bit, but I wasn't clear enough. That is a me problem. That is a me problem. But yeah, flipping the roles, right? Flipping the roles. 9 out of 10 times, the behavioral issues your dogs are exhibiting towards the other dogs in the house or towards you, if you just reverse it and you ask yourself, what could I do that would basically be the same thing as what the dog is doing in this moment? It'll probably become a lot more clear where the problem lies and how you fix it.
Yeah.
And then where the training comes into play is the training puts you in a position to have the communication to set those boundaries. What the fuck are you laughing about?
I can't say it.
Say it.
No, I can't. I can't say it.
Why not?
I'm flipping the script on him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It came in my head, dude. I was like, no. So, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I could say about all of this.
Dude, I think you hit it. I think you hit it right on the head, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of, call this episode like a little bit of just like a behind the scenes / like this kind of goes hand in hand with the video that just went out. I think it's good. I think that I'm pleased with, I'm really pleased with how it went. And the other part of the conversation here is, have people sometimes that say like, David, if the risk is that high with these dogs, right, why bother? Right? And I've said this a million times because it's not my decision to make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not my decision to make. And with all of these clients, I want everybody to realize, first and foremost, there is extensive conversation with them of like, you really want to give this a go.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, here are the risks associated with this. Like in her case, like, hey, like, this is like we have to make sure we're doing this in a way that puts your safety first, puts the dog's safety first, stuff like that, you know? And it's like most of these people, you've got to realize, like, though we are in like a position of authority, right? As like somebody they're hiring for expertise and stuff like that, until you really establish a sound relationship with them, most of these people, if I got a call from this woman and she said, I have 4 dogs that are fighting with each other, I've gotten injured, the dogs have gotten injured, whatever, stuff like that. And I just said, wow, that's really freaking risky. You probably should get rid of one of these dogs, right? They're just going to go find the next person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not the answer they're looking for, right? Now, maybe later down the road, I would say once if this individual is committed to trying, right? And they really want to see if they can find a way to make this work, right? I'll give it my all. I'll give it my expertise, and I'll do my best to try to help them as much as I can, right? Then later on, once we have a good relationship with each other, if it's very clear, this is above your pay grade, right? Meaning the owners, right? Like they're not up for the challenge. It is too risky. There's been a close call or two, something like that. Then we have the relationship to have that conversation then at that point. You know what I mean? And I have more trust established with them. You know, it's just going to be, it's going to be a better situation to have that conversation. But like in this case, like right now with the safety protocols we put in place, as long as she follows them, right? The risk has been diminished down to an extremely, extremely manageable level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where it's like, let's see how it goes, right? And if she doesn't follow them, there's only so much I could do about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, these are the rules. They're very clearly outlined. We talked to them about 800 times, right? So as long as you follow them, then you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like,
but I think that's the big thing is like people got to realize like these people are going to try one way or another. And if they're going to try, I want to make sure they have the best knowledge possible.
Yeah. I feel like 99% of the time too, it's like most things are manageable. It's just depending on if it's the picture that they have in their head for that dog.
Yeah.
Like it might just be a more structured environment than they want, but that's the only way that it's going to work with that dog.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't remember where I heard this from. So I'm going to give credit to the ethos for this. I didn't come up with
The
this.
ethos.
Somebody said this first. I don't know who said it first, but it was like, it's like mourning the dog you wanted and accepting the dog that you have. Or mourning the situation you wanted and accepting the situation that you had. Whatever spin on it you want to put is so necessary. And I think that's what you were just alluding to there is, you know, success also comes in the form of you taking whatever picture is in your head of what things should look like and just put it in the grave. You know what I mean? Mourn the loss of that picture.
Yeah.
And accept whatever the new picture is going to be, you know, and what real life is going to look like.
Yep.
That is so important.
Yep.
You know? So.
I think that's good. That's a good ending
I think
topic.
if I got anything else. I don't know if I do. I don't think so. We'll save it for next time.
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. So anyways, watch the video, everybody. Hope you guys like it. I got to put plugs. Hold on. A couple plugs.
Oh, we got
Let's
plugs.
do a couple plugs. We got a couple plugs.
Okay.
Okay. So thing number one, podcasts are going to be coming out on Tuesday mornings now.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesdays at 9 a.m. I was supposed to say that at the beginning. I'm saying it at the end. Okay. Podcasts will be coming out Tuesday mornings now.
Okay.
And in addition, it will be coming out on Tuesday mornings on YouTube, and it will be coming out the following Monday on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Right? Okay. The intention of that is so people start watching it initially through the YouTube video. We love the engagement and stuff we get through it. So by having you, if you want to listen to it the first week, listening exclusively on YouTube, it's really easy for you to go in and leave comments if you want to.
Yep.
Right? Plug number 2, right? I'm going to start saying this in all the podcasts. I got to remember though. Hold on. We've been making so much headway with this lately. You know, our view counts keep going up. Our engagement keeps going up. Our Spotify numbers keep going up. Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if you listen to it on either of those two platforms, or do both, hit the follow button and rate and review it. Our Spotify reviews are pretty good right now, but I want more of them. So if you listen to it, just hit that little button where you get to review it. Josh, you can go and do it as well and do that. That's really cool. Plug number 3.
Man.
What?
I said, man.
I got plugs today. Plug number 3. I have severely dropped the ball anytime we've gone out of town for any sort of training related things on posting ahead of time that I'm going to be in that place to try to give people an opportunity to take advantage of me being out there and sign up, right?
Yeah.
So couple of them coming up, right? May, let me look at exactly when May. Hold on. I'll get you guys an exact date here. Okay, hold on.
Heck yeah, 4.3. I'll take that out of 5.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Was it like 40 reviews or something like that? 25?
Yep, 40 some.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. Okay. The weekend of May 16th, I am going to be in Toronto. I'm going to be doing a seminar with Canine Academy up there. Now, I just got the information for it. It's not really a public seminar because it's a part of his trainer's course. He does a 5-day trainer's course. I'm sure you could still sign up for the full 5-day trainer's course if you want to, obviously.
Yeah.
But I will be teaching one of those days. Right. Okay. So it's not really like a public seminar you can come to, but I will be working with trainers up that way. But I'm saying this because that whole weekend I will be in Toronto, right? So the weekend of the 16th of May, and I will be blocking out time to either do sessions with trainers, do sessions with owners, do consult, do whatever, right? So shoot me an email at david@miraclecaninetraining.com. Shoot us a message, whatever. If you are interested in doing anything while I'm up there, I'll be making my rounds and working with clients while I'm up there. And then the last plug is, as I said at the beginning of this, right? My wife is from Connecticut. We go to Connecticut all the time. I have tossed around the idea many a time before about starting to do some training in Connecticut, right? Where they are located in Connecticut, you're only like an hour and a half from New York City, right? So any of my New York City clientele, right? Any people in the Connecticut or Rhode Island area, right on 95 right there, if you are interested in working with me, I go up there 3 or 4 times a year. I'd be happy to do sessions with you guys. The next time I will be up there is in August. So if you guys are looking to do any sort of training in the Milford, Connecticut area, reach out to me. And again, we could set something up. And given that I'm always out for different amounts of times, we could really customize things, right? There's the possibility I could do, short 1-week board and train programs while I'm up there. There's a possibility that I could do condensed 10-session one-on-one programs while I'm out there. Like the sky's the limit. We'll come up with something. So if you're in Canada or if you're in Connecticut, New York City area, reach out to me and we will figure something out with that. So those are my last plugs. I got some plugs.
Yeah, plug talk.
Not that. Yeah. All right, guys. We're ending it on that.
Yep.
We'll talk. See you.